Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are you today? We are here today with our business spotlight for Gloria Grace Rand. Before we get started, let me introduce myself. My name is Lisa Balthaser. I'm a business coach and consultant, and I help you grow and scale your business online to six figures and beyond, and help you create repeatable revenue so that you can experience ease and flow. And we do that all in 6 to 12 months. So today we have Gloria Grace Rand, and she is a spiritual alignment coach, energy healer, and founder of the L.O.V.E method. I don't know about you guys, but I want to know what that is. She develops innovative programs to help awaken her clients to their divine identity so that they live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically. So today we're going to learn more about Gloria Grace, why she's so passionate about helping her clients live more authentic and fuller lives. So let's get started with that. If you guys are here, please interact, ask questions, let us know you're here. So let's start with asking why you are so passionate about helping people live more aligned spiritually lives.
Well, I would say mostly because I've been able to do it myself. And you know how that goes, when you discover something and you're able to make it work in your own life, you want to share it, and you want other people to be able to have that ability as well. Because I have, I, I I've been, successful in different aspects of my career, different careers I've had over my lifetime. Now I'm now 60, and so I've done a lot of different things. And at the same time, I think there was always a little part of me, though, that was not completely fulfilled and not completely happy about it. And so in my spiritual journey that I've been on, especially over the last say 6 years, 6 7 years, I've really learned how to, number one, trust my intuition a lot more than I used to. And when I do that, really good things happen. And so that's sort of the main part, I think, of being a spiritual alignment coach, is really helping you to tune in, really tune in, listen to your higher self. And when you are able to do that, it just makes things so much easier. Things flow a lot better. I mean, okay, I've been in business now since 2009, and I've been on social media probably shortly thereafter. And writing content, I'm really good at writing content for like other clients, but sometimes doing it for my own business has not come as easy. I mean, either writing for my website or just coming up with social media posts. And that again is where, over the last few years, as I've become more in align with what I really like to do and who I am, it's made all of that so much easier to do. I'm able to come up with posts that are more engaging than they used to be, and I'm come up with ideas for different things to do. And so yeah. So that's a long way of saying that's really why I'm so passionate about this.
That's really interesting. Something you said really hit me because I've experienced that myself. And that was that you're really good at doing it for other people. But when it came to doing it for yourself, it is so different. And people don't understand that. But you're saying that because you have become so fully aligned with what you're doing, it just became a lot easier for you over time.
Yeah, definitely. Because, like I said, I definitely struggled in the beginning. I would come up with things, but I was never 100% happy with it, it or it didn't provide the results that I wanted. And in doing the work that I have done now, and really learning to speak more from the heart,
Mhm.
and being me, I mean, really being able to say, this is who I am. You either, love it or leave it. And that's okay. And that's something that as business owners we have to learn how to do, is to be able to realize that we're not going to we're not going to please everybody, and that's okay. And we're not really meant to. We're not meant to work with everybody
Right.
because there are lots of people that do what I do, but they don't do it necessarily the way I do it, and they don't have my background
Mhm.
and where I come from. And that's going to resonate with certain people and it's not going to resonate with others. And
Right.
that's okay. And so that's why, yeah, it has just become a lot. I found it to be much more easy for me to be able to write copy. I mean, I just did I launched a retreat. I had a retreat last month, and
Mhm.
when I was well, that was an inspiration that came to me to do number one, and then number two, when it came to write the copy for the landing page for it, it just it it flowed very easily, and because it was just something that I was really excited about. And I think that is again when you're more aligned, you're dare I say happier.
Right.
I
And,
think, you're happier with what you're doing and
right.
it um and then when you're more excited and alive, things do just tend to flow a lot easier than when you're maybe it's like something you have to do, and so, you'll do
Right.
it, but it's more like pulling teeth.
Yeah, what really struck me about what you were just saying, is it really all comes down to being authentically you. And we hear, as coaches, we hear that word thrown around all over the place. But here's the thing. Um, we're all looking at what everybody else is doing out there in the world, and we're all comparing ourselves. Well, some people say, "Oh, I don't compare myself." Everybody compares themselves to on some level,
Yeah.
and so what ends up happening is you try to emulate like the other things that you're seeing, but when you're really coming into who you are, it's just going to flow and feel better for you, and you're going to be attracting the right people. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, definitely. And you can still sort of, follow the uh, let's say well, as an example, you can follow a template perhaps
Mhm.
that maybe if you're working with like another coach or somebody who has an idea for this is how this is the flow of how something should go. And you can do that, but when you are doing it from the heart, where you are really actually just being totally raw and honest about your feelings and what you're putting into it, even though you're following a template, it's still coming across more uniquely you, shall we say, is coming
Mhm.
across as you, and then people will respond to it. And because I had this experience earlier this year, I was in a program where they were, giving you some guidelines on how to do certain social media posts, and so I followed that, but it was really still telling my story, and that's what people responded to. And I think that's the important thing, is to not be afraid to tell your story and to be able
Mm.
to let people see who you are, um, warts and all, as they say, because it's good to let people know sometimes when you do, mess up or things don't go right for you, because then it makes you more relatable and people will be able to say, okay, well, if they're having some struggles and they seem like, the rest of their life is so together, well, that gives me a little bit of hope as well.
Right. I think that's key. And so as we're talking about that, what have been some obstacles that maybe you have overcome along the way? Just so other people know, success does not drop out of the sky. There's ups, there's downs. We all go through it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I would say couple of the well, probably the biggest one, and is one that still uh, rears its ugly head from time to time, is self-doubt.
Mm.
Am I doing the right thing? Am I pursuing the right strategy? Is this what I should be doing in my business? And that was, I mean, that really came to a head for me back in 2017, because it was right after my sister had passed from cancer, and I wasn't sure uh, anymore what I wanted to do. And I was in a program at the time to learn how to run masterminds, which is something that I had wanted to do. And but I wasn't sure that I still wanted to do the SEO copywriting, which had been my primary business since 2009. And I really struggled with that for a while, and it took me, partly getting over the grieving, but partly working with other coaches, attending some different workshops, and again going on this spiritual journey, that I finally came to a point where I decided I do still like to do writing, and I still have copywriting clients, and I also wanted to do more deeper work, which included writing a book, which includes speaking, doing a podcast, and coaching, which is what I want to be able to do, this ultimate deeper work with
Mhm.
people. And I will just say is that even this past week, I've been feeling a little lost and going, I don't know. I think it was I had such a good time doing my retreat last month. And now I was like, okay, now what am I going to do? And finally decided to journal about it. And it was, what came through was just relax and just do some stuff. Do what you're
Mm.
doing right now. And ideas will come. And sure enough, I was having ideas coming to me this morning, about some things that I've been working on. And so, yeah, it's sometimes you just have to relax or spend some time journaling and know that this too shall pass.
Right.
Because
Yeah, I
and it will come up again, and it will pass, but
yes,
you
it
just kind of have to go
will.
through it.
That's the truth of it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned like a couple things that you had done along the way. Can you kind of walk us through your journey to where you are now? Like how you got
Sure. Yeah, because as I said, I think my biggest thing that happened was when, I've been in business since 2009, and was doing, fairly well. And then my older sister had gotten diagnosed with cancer in 2015, and then passed 18 months later. And during that time, I was in this program, and I was doing different personal development work, and then I was working with coaches since then, and I've continued to do that. And I think working with a coach is so important, because they can really help you to see things that you don't see, or frankly hear things that you don't hear. I would make comments to one of my coaches, so probably about a couple years ago, and I would say things, and she's like, Gloria, do you hear what you just said? And then she repeat it back to me, and I go, oh, wow, yeah, I didn't hear that. I didn't realize I was saying that. So something that has been something that I've learned to become more aware of is when I am engaging in negative self-talk, for instance. And I've become much more attuned to hearing that now, and catch it and go, okay, nah, do we really mean that? And be able to reframe it. And that's what, again, that's why it's so important to, wherever you are in your stage of life, whatever you're doing, wherever you are in your business, to be able to invest in yourself
Mhm.
by working with a coach, or it could, whether it's one-on-one or a group coaching program or something. But it's so important to be able to have that outside perspective,
Yep,
because we sometimes we really do have blinders on, and that's what
we
has
do.
really helped me in
Mhm.
being able um, to make progress. And so that now, like I said, occasionally, except for the occasional still self-doubt that comes along the way, for the most part, I am so much happier now than I've really been in a very long time. I'm much more fulfilled. I'm calmer, uh, more confident about what I'm doing. And it's because of really a lot of the different things that I've done, and not only working with coaches. I will say the other thing that I have done, part of my journey, and this actually I started doing this way back when I started my business, was I started a regular meditation practice. And that has been something that has truly, I attribute one of the big reasons why I'm here today, still in business after all of these years, and that, giving it up a long time ago, um, because it really helped me to stay centered. It helps me to tune into my intuition. It's great for coming up with good ideas. It also helped me when I was taking care of my sister, because I had to be, if anybody has ever, been a caregiver for someone, that it's not easy. In fact, I've got a friend right now who's been dealing with her husband had a stroke, and she's been dealing with that. And I would make sure that I meditated every morning, first thing in the morning before my sister got up, so that I could be present for her and I could really help her, and not get stressed out because of, things that would happen, dealing with insurance, or the scheduling doctor's appointments, and then also just dealing with, the aftermath of chemotherapy and things like that. So meditation is definitely one of my fabulous favorite activities. And yeah.
I think two things that you said, really struck me. One of the things is something that I say all the time. And that is that everybody needs a coach. We cannot see our own problems. I'm sorry if you can hear that noise. Um, we cannot see our own problems many times. And even when
Right.
we think we can, we can't. And when you have an outside person, such as a business coach or any kind of coach, actually, they can see what you can't.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. Tell us about the love method. I really want to know about this.
Yeah. So this is an incredible thing. So let me just set the stage for you. So as I said, I've been meditating, and so a couple months before my sister passed, I was meditating as normal, and all of a sudden this idea popped in my head that said, "You should write a book about love." And I went, "What? I do marketing. I write about, I was blogging about social media and SEO copywriting." I'm like, what do I know about love? That was totally crazy. And yet, still, for some reason, I went on my computer and I opened up a Word doc and was like, okay, well, if I were to write a book about love, what would love be? What would I write about it? And then it was, well, love's an acronym. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it turned out to be that the L stood for let go and let God. The O is open your heart to receive. The V is value your uniqueness. And the E was embrace your divinity.
I love it.
Yeah. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And then I really didn't get to do any more with it. Although I will say that later that morning, I was going through my email and I saw an email from Hay House. And, they're book publishers. They handle people like, well, it was founded by Louise Hay, and Wayne Dyer was one of their authors. And they were advertising a writer's boot camp to teach you how to write a book. And when I saw that, I said, all right, God, I guess you're serious. You really want me to write a book about love, don't you? And I, invested in the boot camp.
Oh, I love
But
it.
I didn't really start to write it though until a couple years later, because I had to, well, I would say essentially I really finished it in 2020. It was like 2019 and 2020 working on it. And because I had to really learn what all of that meant for myself. And in fact, I realized at one point working with a coach that the reason that idea came into my head was because I had to learn those lessons for myself. Because the book was more for me than anything else, but it definitely helps other people as well. But I had to, what I came up with the subtitle finally, because after going through many iterations, and then again, as I was writing it, I realized what it was. It's how to stop doubting yourself and start being yourself.
Oh,
And
I
that's
like
what,
that. What you just said, I think is so important for people to get. You said you wrote it for yourself, but it helps other people. And that's the truth for myself too. Um, most of the things that I put out to the world are for me, but I know that there's millions of other people that it's helping along the way because we are all humans. We all go through similar paths. I mean, it may look a little different, but we can relate on those real terms. And, I think that's really important for people to get. So stop trying to be perfect. Nobody is.
That's for sure. Yeah, it's perfectly all right. And yeah, that was the interesting thing is because originally when I figured this was going to be, just a self-help guide, just
Mhm.
with steps on how to be able to do this. And then as I started writing it, it turned out to be much more of a memoir than I had intended. But I had to share how it applied for me, and how I was able to then learn these lessons and in my life and to be able to give people a context of like the things that I had gone through and now that have come through the other side. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it makes a difference.
That's nice. So, what are some misconceptions that you have to bust in your business? I know we all get them. And I'm curious, like misconceptions of people working with somebody like you to help them find alignment. What do you hear?
Well, I would say I think probably the biggest one is that and and I'll just say that this is what I was expecting from my coaches as well early on was that they were going to fix me. That they've got
Mhm.
the solution for me and I just have to, listen and they're going to tell me what to do. Yes, a coach can provide some guidance, but ultimately what they're really doing is helping you to figure these things out for yourself. And
Mhm.
I mean, I worked with one coach who hardly said anything during our coaching sessions. He really would just let me talk. It's kind of like, almost like when you see the stereotypical scenes of like a psychiatrist. Um, but it was good, and frankly, he was the person who encouraged me to start talking about the love method, and so he really I hired him for business, and we wound up talking more about spirituality, and that's also reflective of him now because he's really become a spiritual coach, which is interesting too, in seeing how his transformation. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is that I think that a coach is gonna just have all the answers for them, and really, you have all the answers you need inside of you, you just don't see them or you don't hear them, and
Mhm.
that's where the coach can help by pointing out these things and saying, "Did you hear what you just said? Or or do you see where you're these patterns in your life where you're doing this? Have you ever realized that?" And you'd be like, "Oh, yeah, I didn't see that before," because we don't. We have blinders on. And so that's
Right.
what a coach is good for.
Yeah, I remember when I was going through my coach training and we're all coaching each other, and people will come out with this question, and it would just totally make me stop. Like, well, I didn't even have answers because I had to like search my brain. And I think, what you're saying, is so true that the coaching really makes you look at things, look at what you do. Like instead of being on autopilot, really think about it.
Mhm.
And I think that's important. So what type of people do you help, or what are the most common reasons people would need you?
Um, the t I would say the type of people I help are a lot of times are like me. They're women who are um, in midlife or a little bit later, and I would say they are uh, people who are for some reason stuck right now. Maybe they've been doing something for a long time, and for some reason it's just not giving them the pleasure, I can't think of the word I'm looking for right now. They're not getting the value. We'll just say value for now out of it, and but they're not sure what they want to do next. And so that's where I can help them because I can help them to really start, not necessarily deal with tactics or strategies, but go deeper and to be able to help them to um, really start looking at what are the things that they really enjoy doing, and to be able to see if that really does still resonate, and and be able to help them to gain some clarity in what they want to do. And so yeah, I think it's also, that is why a lot of people will come to, to a coach, is that they're in the middle of something and they're not happy with it, or they are looking for clarity. They're looking for um, just some guidance on what to do next in their life, because um, things happen in our lives sometimes. We go through, especially as we get older, things happen with relationships, may change. Either people, you experience a death of a spouse perhaps, or maybe you decide, or maybe you get divorced or something like that, and that can affect you not only personally, but can also affect your business as well. And you can have this big, when you've got a major life change, it sort of has you start having a big pause, like, am I really still, do I still want to do this? And sometimes maybe you do, but you just need to take the time to grieve. And that might be all that you need, is to give yourself that grace to be able to do that. And it might be time to just, try something new, and take a break from where you are. So that's what I like to be able to help people with.
Right. So what myths can you bust? Like what do you hear from people when they come to you and they're like, oh, well, I don't know if I need that. What are you hearing, and what can you say to dispel those myths?
Hmm. Um, well, let's see. I'm not sure about, hmm, it's a good question about myths. So I'm not sure, but I would just say, if people are doubtful, I get that, and the only way to really find out for sure is to give it a try, frankly. And if we're not a good fit, or it's not working for you, that's perfectly fine. And at the same time, I would say you also need to give it a little time, because if you just do like one session and quit, that's really not enough, because we've barely scratched the surface. And I'll use myself as an example again, is that in working with different coaches over the years, that number one, it takes some time to even get a feel for how that coach works. And I will say, I've had one coach who is nice and sort of softer. And then I had another one who was a bit more abrupt and very no nonsense and tough. And I needed that. I really did. I didn't see it at the beginning that I needed that, but in sticking with it and working with her over, the course of, say at least 3 months, and then I think I wound up hiring her for another 3, is that I did need a bit of tough love to, kick me in the rear and get me going. And so I would say, if you feel like you need to work with someone, number one, get referrals from people, and find out if other people have worked with them, and see what their experiences has been. And then at the other time, you're just going to have to really try and see, and don't necessarily quit early on, but give it a fair try of a couple of months, because sometimes what happens is the fact that you are resisting is really why you even need to work with that person, because there's something in you that is being triggered. And that is actually a good thing, even though it doesn't feel that way when you're going
Right.
through it.
I
But
totally
it
agree with a few months, because change does not happen overnight, and sometimes people expect miracles, and
right.
it
Yeah.
just doesn't work like that. Things take time to change. I mean, maybe you have a habit that you have that's making things not work for you or not be out of alignment. Well, that's hard to break. You have to work with that over time. So I think that was a really, really good point that you made there. Yeah, so do you have any tips that you can give some, like, the average person, like, as a coach with what you do? What tips would you give
Oh, well, absolutely. And I would say there's a couple things. Number one, let's say that you're struggling with self-doubt, for instance, and you're yeah, you're not comfortable in your own skin, let's say. And I would say the one practice that I've done and I've had my clients do as well, and I borrowed this from Louise Hay, is the mirror work.
them?
You're probably familiar with that, where you look at yourself in the mirror and you say out loud, "I love you, Gloria." So, for instance, my name, and it may very well feel weird because I know it did for my clients and it's felt weird for me, but to continue to do that consistently, do, again, like say over the course of a week or, or 2 weeks or something, to be able to do that. And that will help you because you know, this is us. This is who we've come into in this world. This is all we've got, family, friends come and go, but ultimately we are living in this body, and in order to function in the world, in order to be able to be, to love anyone else, it starts from loving yourself. And so that's one thing I would recommend. Journaling, besides meditation, journaling I have found is a wonderful, wonderful practice. um, just to journal out your feelings whenever you're feeling upset, or frankly, even just do it first thing in the morning. Just there's a wonderful book, and I forget the name of it, but they talk about morning pages, and to just get in that habit is really interesting. And even if you don't know what to write, you can also just say, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. And then all of a sudden, something will come through. And maybe that day, nothing comes through except for maybe a list of things you're going to do to that day. And that's okay too. And then the next day, something may come through. Um, and
I
then
I
one
love
last thing
I love the
is,
mirror work. I like
yeah.
that you mentioned that because I've used that in the past, and it's powerful. And I remember the first few times, I just cried.
Mm,
I literally broke down and cried. And it's very powerful. People don't realize how powerful that is, but here's the things that we tell ourselves every day, and then to actually be nice to yourself and gentle to yourself and tell
mhm.
yourself that we don't tell ourselves these things.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, because our brains are we're naturally hardwired to seek out negative stuff, and
Mhm.
and we remember negative things much more often than we do the positive things, so we've got to work harder at instilling positive things so that we can, because you can rewire the brains to focus more on the positive, and it is absolutely possible to do that.
Right.
And yeah, and make sure that you're actually, when you're looking in the mirror, that you're actually looking in the mirror. Look at your eyes. Don't be just standing in front of the mirror but then looking around. No, you've got to actually look.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You were talking about one more thing.
Yeah, I was just going to say the last thing is to have an attitude of gratitude, do some type of gratitude practice. In fact, I've got a dear friend who I want to remind him of. Actually, I was thinking about this the other day because he has had a lot of stuff is going on wrong in his life right now. And I realized that I think I'm going to suggest that he, spend a couple minutes at the end of the day thinking of things that he's grateful for, because I know he has them. And because I do know that the more often that you can practice gratitude, then the more things you tend to have to be grateful for. It's a wonderful concept.
Yes, yes, that's so good. So do you have any freebies that you can offer?
Well, I do, as a matter of fact. I've worked on, and I have you to thank for this, actually, because I was in your program not too long ago where you were helping us to come up with a lead magnet. And so I came up with a new freebie, and it is a checklist of my top must-dos to help you to fall back in love with your business. Because if you have been, for some reason, maybe things aren't feeling, you're not feeling that love anymore. You don't have the passion for it. So this is lists a few things that you can kind of take a look at, and then see, and then maybe you can start to work on them. And if you need support, you can also, contact me or Lisa to help you with it.
Do you have the link for that? You can put it, do you have access to the comments? I don't even know.
No, but I can put it in the chat. It's basically, if you go to gloriarand.com
Mhm.
/checklist.
Oh, okay. So
So
it's
it's
the website
pretty
that I
easy.
had on the original
Yeah,
graphic, just /checklist. Okay.
/checklist. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Great. So and that list, because I've seen it, guys, is really good. So you want to go get that, because Gloria Grace is really good at what she does. So you want to go grab that if you can. Um, and let me see, what was there anything else that you wanted to tell the audience that maybe they need to know about how you help them, or why they should contact you, or anything, really anything.
Anything. That's okay. So, um, well, I would say I'm really committed to helping people to stop stop doubting yourself, and to give yourself permission to be yourself, because that is something that I did not do for a long time. And I can tell you that you will feel so much lighter when you are able to do that. And it's not without its challenges, because there are some people who may not be happy with, things that you decide to do. And ultimately, though, you have to be the one who is okay with them. So sometimes working with a coach can help you to learn how to manage those other relationships when people do give you a hard time. But I want to be able to help you to stand in your power, and just say, I love you, and I'm going to do it this way because this is what I need. And it's okay to do that. And I know sometimes I think we need to uh, well, we definitely need to give ourselves permission, but sometimes it is good to hear it from another person, to be able to say, yes, it's okay for you to put yourself first. It really is. And, they tell you that on airplanes all the time, to put yourself first, put that oxygen mask on first. So it's applicable in all sorts of different ways of our lives. So we still have to do that. So I would love to be able to support you in that. You can reach me on my website. In fact, if you go to gloriarand.com and, reach out, I would love to help. If nothing else, grab a copy of my book. It's on Amazon. And it's called Live, Love, Engage. So there's some tips in there as well that can help you. And I would love to support you any way I can.
Is that the book sitting behind you on the?
That is the book sitting behind me. Yes, this is it. Let's see.
Oh, okay. Great. Live, love, and gate. Hey, I
Yeah.
may need that.
Well, there you go.
I should go, I need to go look at that myself. So I think I'm going to check your book out. So, well, I want to thank you so much for being here, Gloria Grace. It's been so nice. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and your business and how you serve your clients. And I love talking to other coaches, because I get the coach speak. So I love it. So I do appreciate you being here, and everybody connect with her, get the free download, check out her book. Gloria Grace has a lot to offer the world. So if you are in need of somebody that can help you become more aligned, just feel better about what you're doing in business, she's the person.
Well,
Okay.
thank
And
you
yeah,
so
Gloria,
much.
oh yeah, I see you have your the checklist in the comments. So yes, great. Okay. Well, thank you
Yeah.
for being here, Gloria Grace. I appreciate
Well,
it.
thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it. And it was a delight talking with you today.
Okay, guys, thank you for watching.